Hey VC, this is Luke with Hot Wax and Cool Vinyl. Welcome back. Unless this is the first time you're viewing my channel, then simply welcome. Alright, today is Sunday the 13th of March 2022. It is almost St. Patrick's Day, so hey, happy St. Patrick's Day everybody. Alrighty, this week's video I wanted to continue with the series of influential albums or generational albums or iconic is a little bit, but I'm talking albums that literally, in my humble opinion, transformed music and dragged it to another place. Now, last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, my last video, if you want to watch it, I highlighted Meet the Beatles, and what I thought it was a transformational, generational album. I got a lot of feedback from the VC, so I was pleased enough to do another one. So I wanted to do this one today and kind of thinking back and forth of what kind of album, because there's enough to pick from, but one really stood out more than any others, and that's mostly because I was a punk rocker in the late 70s growing up as a teen. So the one album that stuck out to me, and no, it's not London Calling, but it was, never mind the Bullocks, Here's the Sex Pistols. The one and only studio album the Pistols ever did. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of why this is generational or transformational, if you will, some background on this thing, because this is actually really fascinating. We'll start with the fact that Glenn Matlock, who was the original bass player for the Pistols, left during the recording sessions of this thing, and they brought in Sid Vicious. Now, Matlock is actually still credited on a lot of the songs as having co-written the songs, but he was gone, and they brought in Sid Vicious. And the rumor, and this is only a rumor, was that Sid Vicious wasn't really a very good bass player. So a lot of his stuff was actually covered by the guitar player at the time of the Pistols. So another fun fact, as I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Another fact on this particular album is it was released in the United Kingdom in October of 77, released here in the United States the following month on the 11th of November of 77. But upon its release in the UK, record stores actually refused to carry this. And radio stations would be very hesitant to play the songs, and has even so far as to say, when you had the listings of where the songs ranked, you know, top 40, shall we say, or top 100, they omitted the title. The title was just so unnerving or so offensive to some that they just left the title of the album blank. It was just blank where the album title was, and then there was a song and where it ranked in that. Now, you would think in 77, there's obviously no internet, there's really no mass media that you can get behind. And again, record stores, some record stores aren't selling this. It's really getting a lot of pushback. I mean, actually the band was fired twice from 2 different record companies before they were picked up by Virgin Records. And so what's going on? This album still debuts as #1 in the UK charts. Now, probably it's because of the notoriety that the album was receiving beforehand, and all the kids wanted, you know, it's like anything else. If you're a teenager and everyone's telling you this is so bad for you, you're gonna want to go listen to it. So this thing debuts as #1 despite everything. In the United States, however, it actually never reached higher than 100 in the album charts. But still, it's weird because this album, at the time, was so radically different than anything we'd heard. I mean, it really just was. If you're my age, obviously you remember, 77 was pretty much the height of the disco era and that really sugary pop, almost like worse than the 60s bubblegum pop. This was like really sugary Donnie and Marie and just really bad pop songs. Or just, I shouldn't say bad. Let's just say very generic, studio writer sets down and, hey, Don, sing this, And then on the other spectrum, you had bands starting to come out in the rock genre, which was really influential into itself, but you had not had anything quite like this or anything like this, from the way the kids dressed or the way they acted, how they reacted. It was just so anti-establishment, anger, visceral anger towards, really towards the aristocracy of the time. Now, this falls into that generational transformational album in large part as to why it was written and what it was speaking to at the time. I mean, look, you've got God Save the Queen, you've got a whole host of things. I mean, I'm not from the UK, so I can only go by the facts that I recall and from what I read in the papers. But I mean, at that time, unemployment in the United Kingdom was very, very high. The disparity between the aristocracy and the well-to-do in Great Britain versus the working class, especially the younger working class, high school kids or just kids who were just left high school. Not everyone was going to university. As a matter of fact, a very small percentage of teens leaving high school were going on to college and the universities. It just wasn't as commonplace as it is today. Actually, today it's more uncommon for someone to not go to college when they're done with their high school than it is for them to go to college. I think I said that correctly. Nonetheless, so this album spoke to a lot of the angst and the fears that the teens in particular had at the time. And so it, despite of all the efforts to knock it down, this thing comes in as number 1. Breaks in the United States is 100. So what's the big deal, Luke? It never made it over 100. No, but in the United States, believe it or not, this thing has subsequently gone double platinum, twice platinum. It sold 2 million copies in the United States. So 1 million copies in the UK, 1 million more, 2+ million in the US, 1+ million in the United Kingdom. So it's platinum in the United Kingdom and double platinum in the United States, or twice platinum, however you want to quantify it and define it. That tells you that one studio album from one band, 1 year, resonates to this day, all these years later. It's still selling. The last repress of this, unless they've done it most recently, I don't think so, but the last repress of Nevermind the Bullocks was 2017. So this thing has done amazingly well since its inception, and that's why I think it's transformational. So leave me a comment, let me know what you think, whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you got things to add to it. I find it cool, but until next time, cheers.